Super Senpai Podcast.
Welcome to the Super Senpai Podcast. This is a weekly episodic tokusatsu-related podcast where we're talking about big wrecks in spandex. I'm Pat.
And I'm Grant.
Last week, we checked out Lupin Ranger vs. Pato Ranger episode 1. That was super duper cool. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a really good episode. It was a lot of fun.
I feel like you folks did too.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the response was really positive. I was really excited to see that. I mean, obviously, I expected a few people to check it out, but I think the response was a lot bigger than we expected for our first time out. And that's really good. That's really great and encouraging. We appreciate that from everybody.
Yeah, man, that was like, I've never had this much, I feel like I've had this much engagement before on something.
Welcome to the mountaintop of my overflowing popularity.
Yep.
I laugh because it's not. Anyway, so this week, format's going to be a little different because we've already gone over our personal histories. And so we'll do a little bit of just behind the scenes for everyone out there so you can see the man behind the curtain, so to speak. We'll do a little bit of news because there is some news. Now, we don't want to do news all the time because it's weekly podcast, and I don't want to be scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, if there's nothing to talk about, there's nothing to talk about. But we will discuss some news. We'll do a light recap, do some predictions for what we think is going to happen, watch the show, and then we'll get to your Twitter questions after we discuss it and break it down as usual.
Sounds good. So you have this written down, I think.
Yes. So I think the big news here, and obviously Power Rangers is at the very least a close cousin, if not a sibling of, Sentai and so forth. It's the American Toku, amongst other, the other things like your Big Bad Beetleborgs and VR Troopers and all that. But clearly Power Rangers has been the one that has had the sort of driving and maintaining cultural force. I think if you were to ask at the end of 2017 where the franchise was, you would have gotten a very dismal report. I haven't watched much Ninja Steel or Super Ninja Steel, but they seem to be both pretty poorly received, both by the sort of older community, as well as the ratings aren't very high for it right now. Some of the episodes are performing some of the worst, on par with some of the lower ratings for the rest of the franchise throughout history.
Is it really that bad? Jeez.
Well, I mean, at least from recent tracking numbers, like really low, like low Nielsen ratings and stuff like that. Just not like it's not a good look. And the quality of the show seems to reflect that. Like, I never see positive commentary for it. We're not seeing high ratings for it. The toys seem to be really low quality. The film last year in March 2017 had a really strong opening weekend and the response was more positive than people expected for sure. But it did not maintain that, and it did not really end up being a financial success, I don't think, for Saban.
Oh man. I actually haven't seen it. I wanted to, but
I'm one of the people that's pretty positive on it, actually. The thing is, I don't want to get too much into this, and maybe this is a special episode for another day, but it is a very conflicted film. It has some very, very big positives in its favor. It has some huge, glaring issues at the same time, and I have, even as someone who doesn't feel like you can have, one definitive take on anything, it does not surprise me that two different people can walk into that film and walk away with two completely different opinions on it, because it is a very strange film in a lot of ways. But as someone who came in flinching, bracing for impact, I ended up being really positive on it for the most part, with some big hangups. But as a franchise, I don't think there was any good news last year, except for maybe the Twitch streaming, the Power Rangers Hyperforce thing that was going on, which, if you're unfamiliar, it's a sort of Twitch streaming D&D, role-playing type thing, using some sort of homebrewed system that they've got to run a Power Rangers game, which involves a couple of YouTuber people like Andre, the Black Nerd.
Oh yeah.
And involving some old cast members, like the guy that played Bulk is one of the Team Rangers, and some
dude, it's heartwarming that he gets to be a ranger in some form, especially in this. That's so cool.
That's really important. Like, as a long-time fan, that's really important to me to see him get to be Paul. I can't remember.
Paul Schreier?
Schreier, thank you.
Yeah,
it's really great to see him get to do that. But I think that was a pretty positive thing. People seem to respond really well. Saban said that it was canon, but I think other than that, it was a rough year for the franchise. Oh, and the Boom comics. The Boom comics were really strong, probably the best treatment of the material maybe we've ever seen. But it's obviously a very different space. So those two were the bright spots. Everything else, like your standard media, just like Power Rangers on TV, Power Rangers toys, a Power Rangers movie, just really bad shape. But we have been hit with about 100 news items in the past week or so. A lot of people, I think, were predicting, I saw a lot of commentary on whether or not Power Rangers would even continue to exist in the next couple of years. Like, it looked really bad. But a slew of things has happened. First off, Nick is continuing to license the show through 2021, and that means it's going to continue to be on the air. Saban has moved away from having its toys made by Bandai of America, which has always made the toys for it, and now they're partnering with Hasbro.
I don't really know the specifics of that, but it seems like a positive thing, right?
I think so too. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, just like, and let me paint the whole picture, I guess, to some degree. Also, we're seeing them adapt Go Busters, the 2012 Super Sentai, into Beast Morphers.
Yes.
And then the comics and the Hyperforce thing will continue. And I think any of those individually, you may not be able to suss much out. But I think taken as a whole, like taken as a kind of a broad like view of the franchise, there's clearly it seems like that shows a move to change things, like a move towards doing something, trying to revitalize the franchise and like really bring it back from
maybe interest overall in Toku stuff. I don't know, it's
yeah, definitely.
I have no idea if it would be really cool if that would end up being like some kind of start to a revival of an attempt to bring Toku stuff over or to produce.
Totally agree. That would be amazing.
I mean, it's a stretch, but
let's not do any more Masked Rider, though, guys. But I think
hey, I heard the Dragon Knight wasn't terrible.
That's what I've heard too. That it's not terrible. But I think the general feel, like, especially all the little things, start to make a lot more sense. Like, it has been revealed now that the Hyperforce team has actually been playing a modified version of D&D for the Twitch stream game, which means that, and now that Hasbro owns them, Hasbro also owns Wizards of the Coast, which is the current rights holder for Dungeons and Dragons, which means that we could very well see like an official, adaptation of 5th edition or some version of those rules for a Power Rangers or Super Sentai style game, which is really exciting. I think the move to Hasbro, potentially allows them to buy out Saban. I mean, there's a lot of, and especially the way Hasbro tends to handle its other brands, which are all kind of like worldwide and international hits, so to speak. Regardless of how we may feel about the quality, like I certainly don't think you can question the toys that are being made and the way they at least marshal those brands to perform. So, whose fault is it? Was it Bandai of America or Saban producing the bad toys? Or whose fault is it? Is it Nick or Saban that's making the shows not so good? It feels like Saban I mean, who knows? I don't know. But it seems like they're pushing to change the way things are right now, and I think that can only be seen as a positive. I think especially the announcement of adapting Go Busters is so strange because for years the refrain is...
It's pretty old, right?
Well, yeah, 2012, I mean, that's 6 years now. It seems recent, but that's a long time. And I don't know if I don't think they have ever done this before, where they pick a Sentai out of order to adapt.
Yeah, because if they just bail on something, then it just kind of gets left behind.
Right. So the rule was always like, well, if they skip it, they're just never coming back to it. I think this, again, just like everything else, all expectations right out the window. Like it's a whole new ball game, really. I think that's good. I mean, I think especially with the kind of money that with the licensing and all that we know Power Rangers helps Sentai. Like we know that money's getting back there at some point. Like that's important. I think it's a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. So I'm personally viewing to take it all as positive news.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But so do we want to get into this week's episode, or do you have any more commentary on the news?
I think that was. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything. I'm not tracking anything else besides. That's not true.
You just lied to me.
If you're, I'm sorry, but we gotta let people know, man.
That's true.
If you are listening to this on anything besides iTunes or Google Play, and you want to use that, they are available. Yay. So we'll have links, or we'll make sure that people have access to links to get it on there. And we also have a mirror up on YouTube for the folks that really, really like listening to audio on YouTube. Just make it as available as possible on all the platforms that we can.
Definitely. Don't forget about the email.
Oh, yes. We'll put that somewhere, but you can email us if you really, really want to, or if you have a really long question that doesn't fit the really, really accessible 280 characters on Twitter. Just in case you don't have enough space and you don't want to make multiple tweets, you can email us at supersenpai. Is it the full thing?
Yeah, Super Senpai Podcast.
Yes, it is supersenpaipodcast@gmail.com. And then we'll, make sure that you guys can see that too.
Yeah, that's exciting.
That's it, for real. I don't have anything else in terms of news.
Awesome. Well, then, do we want to go ahead and get into the recap from last week?
Yes, last week. Last week on Super Senpai Podcast. I'm just kidding. But last week, we watched the first episode.
Last week we got introduced to our two crews, our thieves and our police officers. Mostly it was a Lupin Ranger focused episode. We got a lot more with them, although we got to see a little bit of the police precinct and some of the supporting cast there, like Commissioner Hilltop and Jim Carter. But mostly it was about the Lupin Ranger. Mostly it was the Lupin Rangers in their restaurant. We got a lot of kind of their ethos, just sort of like they're all kind of in it to win, regardless of who may get left behind. So they sort of are pushing forward and all that. We got some pretty interesting. We got a little bit of the mafia monsters, and we are currently mid-fight between the Lupin Rangers had been attacking the Fire Shark Kaijin. And then the Pat Rangers showed up, and I get the sense, and maybe this is slipping into predictions, I get the sense we're going to get lots of mecha this week. Lots of bots.
Oh, yes, that's true. Did we really? We didn't really last week. Yeah, it just did all the stuff on the ground, right?
Yeah, I think we got like little moments, like when they left on the plane in the very beginning, but we didn't really get any mecha or anything, and my guess is this is a 2-part opener, and we're going to see some Zords, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess while we're on predictions, it seemed like since last week was the Lupin Ranger episode, this would be the Patlabor Ranger episode, because I think I saw something before saying that they would kind of do a back and forth on which one gets emphasized.
Right.
I mean, until there's a certain point. I don't know. But
and that makes sense.
That would be, right? That's the easy guess, right?
Yeah. I think my guess, too, if I had to make a prediction that's a little outside of what we would probably just expect where the dominoes are falling, we might see a little bit more about maybe what the mafia guys are after. Maybe I'm sure there's some MacGuffin that they're trying to constantly collect or try to get all season. I'm sure we'll get more of a hint of what they're after.
Oh, I see. I mean, with the was it the Lupin items, right?
Right. Like, what are they going to use them for? Or, like, what special thing are they really... I mean, because obviously they're after the MacGuffins, but, like, what are they after? Like, that would be my guess.
It. You think we'll get a hint that soon? Well...
Maybe some allusions to it. I think we'll get a scene or two with them that alludes to bigger things, if not the full details.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I have anything in the ways of... I think that's a pretty good one, and I'm going to ride the coattails of that.
Hey, sounds good. Well, we're a team. We're a team, Pat, so...
Oh, that's fair.
We combined to form one prediction. All right, so are we ready to watch that Sentai?
Yeah, let's fire it up.
Let's do it.
この番組は楽しい時を作るグループ PRT とザ・コミックフィンドとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
All right. That I can't say that every time, but that was friggin' it just got better, man.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's see from the top. It picks up exactly where the fight left off, or where the episode split. So we have the two teams facing off. At some point, the monster fire shark guy, I know we saw his name, but it's gone already, bails. And then, so do the Lupin Rangers, because they figure, like, what's the point of staying here? They shoot at him with a thing, and we think, it looks like an attack, but nope, it's their vehicles coming out of their guns, and they just pop in and bail, like they're gone. And so then, of course, since the Patlabor Rangers also using the VS Charger, they pull out theirs, and they all have ground vehicles, where the Lupin Rangers have air vehicles. Mm-hmm. And so it cuts to the theme song, which was really cool. We got to see a lot of hints, a lot of like cool like foreshadowing of stuff that we're gonna see soon. It cuts back, resumes the chase. The chase is just it's just I can't really describe it, man. Like we got to see a lot of how the weapons and how the the team's theme comes out in the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll get a little bit more into the specifics of it later. But so we have the Lupin Rangers just zooming through, and you have the Pato Rangers chasing them on the ground, and it doesn't stop them. They all have weapons or something. Like at first, I'm like, oh, how are they gonna keep up? But they somehow do cause a lot of destruction. In the end, of course, Lupin Rangers get away.
Of course.
And then we get a superb Zenigata moment, like where Pato Red, like, or I guess Pato Ichigo, tries to jump out of his vehicle to catch up and just totally whiffs it. Like, whoop, no need. Then we get the little bit of a sympathy thing going on where Lupin Red goes to the scene of the crime, or where they were duking it out with the Fire Shark. Pato Red is engaging with civilians, and you kind of sees like, oh, okay, you know, this is what this dude's about. And I think at this point he knows that he's he should know, right? They saw them transform, so they know that they're the Pato Rangers.
Correct. Although it's not returned. We
True.
haven't seen, the Pato Rangers have not seen the Lupin Rangers transform, so they don't know their identities, but the Lupin Rangers know the Pato Rangers' identities.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's right. And so from there, we actually get a little bit of the Lupin Ranger backstory. The reason they even got into this is because some gangler came through and like just destroyed people that were important to them, like froze them in ice. You know, at first they're like, okay, so then are they able to recover? Like, what's the deal? And then they just freaking shatter into like a million pieces. Like, okay, never mind. It's over. It's over. Yeah. They're gone. Like,
and this happens to someone important for all three of them. Each of them at different times loses somebody important to this ice shattering effect.
And then I can't remember the butler's name at this point, but the butler shows up and he just offers them, hey, it's like, hey, if you collect all these things, all the Lupin items, then you could, what was it? My master will grant you a wish, and you could potentially get your loved ones back. And so of course, you know, it's all what we got. Lupin Red's brother. It looked like Lupin Yellow's sister. It wasn't clear.
Yeah, classmate or sister or something.
Yeah, just somebody important to her. But then Lupin Blue, it's just like it's like they zoomed in and like, nope, that's a ring on her finger. That's his fiance. And then like, oh geez, oh man. So we understand a little bit of why they're so invested, and why during the fight they weren't going to let the Pato Rangers take the Lupin item. They have to do it so that they can make this wish, I guess.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And, okay, so then okay, so they track down Fire Shark Dude, and the Lupin Rangers track down the Fire Shark Dude. They did this great thing where they jump off the roof, and the camera work is still freaking amazing. And
yeah, we'll get to that, but it's exciting and kinetic.
Yeah, super cool fight breaks out. In the middle of it, the Pato Rangers show up, and then during the fight, you get something like interesting from Lupin Red, where he's like, we don't need to finish this fight. We'll let them do it. Because at that point, they'd already taken the Lupin item.
Right. They snatched the item, and that's right when the Pato Rangers show up. So they're like, well, let's just go.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. And so at this point, when they bail something, they pull out like a special weapon where all three of the Pato Rangers end up fusing.
Oh, right. Well, the Pato Rangers decide not to pursue. They say, well, the Gangler and the Goons are the most important thing, so then we get the special attacks and such.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So yeah, they break out the special attack, they blow up Fire Shark. They're kind of freaked out a little bit because, like, they're fused together. Like, all three of them fused into one. I'd never seen this before. I don't know if this is new or not. But
this was new to me to see all three kind of, at least the nature of it certainly seems original. I can't think of something similar to it.
Oh, I'll get to that in a little bit later. But so then that happens. They're a little bit weirded out. And then sort of like before they can really celebrate we beat the thing, one of the like big generals from the Gangler's team shows up. Like, she does this great thing where she like kind of rips through reality to basically revive him as a giant. She's like, here you go. Here's a gift from the boss. And then she just disappears. And then we've got the giant Fire Shark like about to wreak havoc. And at this point, Lupin Blue can't contain himself. Like, he was hesitant to like bail at first. Like when Lupin Red was like, we don't need to bother. at this point, he can't help it. He jumps into the air. They're about to chase after it or like attack it in their vehicles, and that's when the thing that let them all fuse together ends up like joining them, and then like
basically the good striker machine that was allowing the Pata Rangers to connect flies off, and then helps the Lupin Rangers all connect. Turns out he's like a little puppet thing. He's like communicating with them, and they all connect to form the giant robot, and the little good striker is like a puppet that's in there with them.
Yep. And then so then they all we get the really cool Gatai moment, and we get Lupin Kaiser, and it's just the design is so nice. But everything that was on the vehicle sort of translates to the big robot. We have a really, I would say, really exciting more CGI fight with Lupin Kaiser versus the Fire Shark. Ultimately, they win, and immediately they bail. Like they pull off their super move, they bail, and then it cuts to the Pato Rangers they kind of just accept it. Like Pato Red is like, the important thing is that they beat the monster's gone, so we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
One less gangler in the world. So then cuts to the cafe where they're kind of like, enjoying their victory a little bit. And then like, oh, cool, we got 2 Lupin items out of this. Things are looking up. And then, boom, in come the Pato Ranger. And they don't really say anything, but the Lupin Rangers all freaking out because they know it's them. And episode cuts. Yeah, a lot happened. A lot happened, man.
A lot went down in episode 2. Like, just minute to minute, second to second. There was a lot to digest. So what did you think about it overall? How did you feel about it?
Oh my gosh. Like, that was thrilling. It was exciting. I didn't know. Like, I was kind of imagining that we were going to get just like kind of a shift over to, okay, we're going to focus on the Pato Rangers a little bit. Like, we saw Hilltop and the creepy robot for like a second. Jim Carter, yeah. We only saw Jim Carter for like a second. So it was really picking up or continuing Lupin Rangers like focus. Mm-hmm. Overall, very positive. I'm still enjoying this. I'm digging it. Like, my fear with Sentai in general is sort of a fatigue from like kind of them hopping into the robot, right? And I feel like I'm not going to have that at all with this. Even if we're watching it week to week, like I feel like overall I could binge this one and not get that fatigue.
Right, definitely. No, I'm in a similar space. I really enjoyed it. For all that was happening, there was always something interesting going on screen. I was always kind of hooked in. I feel like really kind of, at least we know the hook for the Lupin Rangers now. I am generally very positive on what I saw. There was a good mix of practical and CG effects, although there were some pretty long CG sequences. Those CG sequences, even though there's parts of me that's like, well, of course I would love to see more practical effects, but they were not off-putting. They were exciting and different and fun. A lot of really interesting camera work. I'm very pleased overall. Again, I would have liked to see a little bit more of the practical effects with the Zord specifically, like the Megazord, if you will. We didn't see Lupin Kaiser. Like, I don't think we actually got like a full shot of him just kind of standing there. Like, I thought we were gonna get that in the end, but then zipped off. So we got like a upper chest up shot with like its head, and we got a low shot from a ground level, and we've seen like a little bit of the cityscape. We can tell it's large, but that's about it. We didn't. The rest of that was a very like super heroic flying around CG stuff. Yeah. So, but I was really pleased with it overall. I'm excited. I was wrong about my prediction that we'd get the monsters hook, but we got the Lupin Ranger hook, and that was interesting. That the idea that they're all, thieves with hearts of gold trying to use their wish for something good.
I don't even know if we could call it hearts of gold. It's pretty selfish at this point, right? Like, I mean, yeah, it's to help somebody, but it's really like, it's not really outwardly to help other people besides people important to them, right?
I suppose, but I mean, they are trying to help someone ultimately. Like, they didn't just get into it for thieving. They were like, well, so I've lost someone very important, and I need to do, and here's an opportunity to bring them back from something that I don't know how else to bring them back from. It's my only option. So
that's true. You're right.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed. I think probably my favorite section was the battle that started with the Lupin Rangers versus the Shark Gangler, and then involved the Pat Rangers, and then shifted to being just the Pat Rangers. Like I really liked that whole. It was the daylight fight sequence. I really liked pretty much all of that. Really exciting to see. Lots of good. We had a little bit of wire work. We had lots of interesting attacks, and we had some fun choreography and stuff in there. I really enjoyed that sequence particularly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just threw a GoPro into the air spinning during one of those shots. Like I was like, I don't know. How they got this.
I have to guess it was a drone. I have to guess it was a GoPro on a drone. I can't.
That makes, of course, that makes too much sense, man. Come on.
That's true. They had to just be boomeranging it around. But there were some shots too where it was like scraping along the ground practically for some of those sequences.
It's like between the legs, up at them during the fight. Like, wow. Like the coordination behind it must have been really exciting and really technical to get it to look like that, and to not trip over the camera while they were doing it. Right?
Yeah,
my goodness,
it was really, really good.
Designs?
Yeah, I like the designs. I love the. We didn't see much of her last week, but the Gangler that she kissed the boss's ring last week, but we got to see her more this week, and she has the sort of chain guns, like the belt feed into the gauntlet guns, and then she has like the exposed rib cages that like turn and shift. Really, really cool design, and the minor note that her mouth actually moves. I like that. I do like to have Kaijin whose mouths move, just because I think it feels less like one big rubber piece. It feels a little more alive, even if it doesn't look accurate. It looks a little comical. I actually like that.
Yeah, you're right. Like as long as it sort of syncs up with what they're saying, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it did in this case, right?
Yeah, for the most part, it was pretty much there. I mean, not perfect, but it was trying to, and that's what matters to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I loved very much that the vehicles, that the Lupin Rangers vehicles all had dials, like the safe dials on the top of it, which then translated over to when they were in Lupin Kaiser, they actually had the dial served as the top hat on Lupin Kaiser, like just fantastic. Like that was just and they spun like when they were pulling off the super. Like oh my goodness, wonderful. Yeah. You were saying something about the Pato Rangers, their vehicles or their.
I just like the dichotomy between the two, the ground versus air. I like the cockpits that we got to see, and the way their consoles, even though it was CG, I like the way that they like shift and change too. It's even though I like the sort of G Gundam, Ninja or Zyuger style, like everybody standing up and doing the moves. It's also nice to have everybody sitting down at consoles. It was fun when Good Striker popped out of the front of Lupin Red's console, and it gave them a chance to stand up dramatically in the big final action sequence when it was time to fire their guns, and they all stood up together and fired them, so we still got a little bit of that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I love Pato Ranger Pink. She has like her nightstick or her baton is like a big part of like what her vehicle can do, and she used it to attack and stuff too, but she also used it at one point. Pato Ranger Green fired his cannon and helped create he and Pink, they worked together to make the ramp so that Red could ramp and chase Lupin Red. It was a really fun, just kind of, I mean,
oh my gosh,
a lot of property damage. We won't get into that, but a really fun way for them to be trying to catch him in that first bit, and of course leading to the Zenigata moment of him just being like, Lupin Red,
I'll get you.
But I liked it a lot.
Okay. We have to talk about the Pato Rangers fusing during their fight.
So how would you describe their fusion for the people playing the home game?
So basically, when Good Striker first shows up, I don't think we even really hear its name, maybe. But when they activate it, I'm like, okay, it'll be like a special gun or whatever. Nope. In the center you have Pato Red, and then his right arm, and then part of the right side of his face ends up with elements from Pink. And then on the left side, the left arm and then left side of his face and I guess the legs also get a bit of green. And so you just have all of them fused into one. And I'd never seen this before. Like
No,
I'd
I
never
haven't either.
ever seen that before in Sentai. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to bring up when we were watching it, because in Kamen Rider Den-O, they do something similar to this where he picks up his different forms or monsters he befriends. Like he befriends Kaijin, and they end up becoming part of his forms, like whenever he changes. And at some point, he ends up with like a form that has a bit of each. And then what I loved about this, and we got to see it, is that I love very much when one person has to pretend that they're being pulled apart by people in charge of different parts of them, and you get a lot of that in Den-O. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy to see it in this. I just had never seen it in Sentai yet, and I don't know if it had been done. I'd love to know.
It also echoes. I mean, my experience would be with Kamen Rider Double, which obviously the main theme of that too is two people inhabiting one body. And I liked that the Paddle Rangers didn't really know what was going on. They're like, what's happening? Like, they weren't like super comfortable with it. Like, it's new to them too.
In the heat of it, they were coordinated, but as soon as they beat Fire Shark, then just they were like, what? Like, I'm so uncomfortable.
They were definitely like, trying to wrap their heads around it. But it's a fun way to play with the, you expect a Sentai team to put all their weapons together and as a team fire the big shot, which they did. But as opposed to putting the weapons together, they put themselves together. And it's just a fun little twist on that trope.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good.
I kind of hope we'll see that on the Lupin Ranger side, and I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's obvious, but I still want to see it. Maybe.
Yeah, or something like it. It was definitely, it was great, and we got to see their other special attack, which is they pull out bull horns.
Oh,
and they yell at
they
yelled at all the little beret goons, the Poldermans, and all of them lined up in nice little rows and files, and then they hit them with their nightsticks for refusing to comply. They just sort of beat them all down. But the little toy megaphones coming out was quite a delight. Oh, we also got to see, and I liked this quite a bit too. I mean, obviously, it's a stylistic thing to have the Paddle Rangers have shoulder pads and the Lupin Rangers have capes, but they included a lot of bullet deflection and reflection elements. Sort of, you mentioned it while we were watching it, kind of a Batman style thing. But when they're exchanging shots with each other, the Paddle Rangers are blocking with their shoulder pads or their kind of arm and leg guards, and then the Lupin Rangers were twirling their capes and knocking bullets away. It's a really fun way to incorporate the stylistic elements and sort of give it a in-universe just sort of thing to do. It's not just for show.
Yeah, like that was, I mean, I feel you nailed it. Like, it was just really, really cool to see them use everything on them. It's not just, I'm repeating what you said.
No, that's okay. No, it's good. It's good that you agree with me. That's important. That's positive. We're a team.
I agree. Yeah, we are a team. Oh, man. Anything you didn't like?
That's a good question. I think,
Can I go first?
Sure, go right ahead.
I'm just going to say, maybe it's just a cultural thing of being in the U.S. here, but the batons and the refusal to comply, it was funny, of course, like in the moment, but just like like it's kind of uncomfortable, like a little bit about like sort of, how things are here. And just, I don't want to get too into this, but for me, I was generally uncomfortable. Like,
yeah, that's one of those things
with how it was.
Even at face value, they had already essentially surrendered and the police were hitting them. So that doesn't, as funny as the attack is sort of in concept, like in practice, you're like, maybe we don't dwell on this. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely a cultural difference thing. Like, it's a very different thing out there, I guess. Like, the police are a very different kind of force, but... Right.
And it is also... I don't think it's meant to be a commentary on how police are supposed to treat people. They're... Again, I mean, obviously, to the degree to which that's acceptable or not, it's like... I agree with you. It can be read... It's not hard to read that really, really bad. And to be... It does not surprise me one bit that it was uncomfortable to watch. I think the thing that I'd be disappointed in... Probably the fact that there just wasn't and I brought it up to begin with, but I'll come back to it. There were pretty long stretches of just CG in the beginning and the end. And while it was fine, I thought it was all good. Like, it didn't look dodgy or anything like that. Like, clearly we were watching computer generated stuff, but it didn't look bad. There's very clearly like real suits and real vehicles, and I just want to see more of them. I want to see little toy cars and people in funny suits walking around, and I want to see smoke, and I want to see cardboard buildings. Like and I want to see longer establishing shots with them, and maybe that's part of the tease, I guess. But I would have liked to see more of those things for sure.
Right. As a final maybe highlight for me, I had forgot to mention this, but what I was sort of guessing at from the first one is when we got the extended transformation sequence from the Lupin Rangers, that we got like the really simple, like kind of like a abridged version of it for the Pat Rangers when they showed up, because I thought they weren't even going to get it. But we got their extended one this time, and I thought it was great. Like, we got a little bit of a flourish. They're still uniform in how they presented. And it's maybe just a tiny bit shorter than Lupin Rangers side of things, but overall, like, it was still fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I loved it.
Seeing the extended bits for them and like the squad cars pulling up behind them and all that was really, really nice. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to next week, or think will happen next week?
Next week. See, I feel like we have to skip the episode previews if we're gonna.
I did.
Do something like
I
this.
skipped it. I skipped it
just guessing on what it is.
Me. I'm that person. I don't watch episode previews.
Oh, rats! Tell me to do that then. I just had it running.
I never tell. Well, besides what you saw in the preview,
is that how it is?
What would you expect, or what do you expect?
Okay, yeah. So, just like dismissing it. Let's just say I forgot what it is, because I can't even pull it out. I'm just coming off of this, but I think that when they showed up at the cafe, we got when the Pat Rangers showed up at the Lupin Rangers cafe. There's a bit of a tension, like, oh no, they know already their identities, but it's so early that it's probably just gonna be a joke. Right. Like, no, they're just here to have lunch or whatever it is. I feel like I want more. We got enough of the Lupin Ranger that I feel like this 1-2 punch was good for the first 2 episodes. So I'm guessing we're gonna probably get more of the Pat Rangers backstory, or what's their deal next time.
Yeah, no, I think probably I expect a little more comedy next week, specifically with exactly what you're talking about. Like, I think they're probably going to play it more for laughs than for too much tension per se. So, which I think is fine. But I think we'll get a little more jokey stuff, a little more, because it's been relatively serious so far. I mean, I wouldn't call it grim, but it's been pretty. Everybody's taken it pretty much at face value. But I think we'll get more comedy beats next time, and we'll probably see a bit more of Hilltop and Carter. At least I hope we do.
Yes.
So, well, alrighty. You want to get into Twitter questions then?
Yes. So this next segment we're going to be calling this is Twitter questions, or what we're going to be calling Senpai Noticed You. So what's the? So
we do have a little bit of housekeeping in terms of we got some questions before, or I should say, after we asked on Twitter. But before the episode, like after we'd also recorded and everything, so we didn't have time to answer them. So a few of these are from last week, but we're trying to catch up. So good buddy Tom Asnable asks, okay, but you have to at least spitball the idea of a Lupin III versus Patlabor on a tangent. So, okay, if you're not familiar, Lupin III is obviously one of the longest running manga and anime series in Japan, and then Lupin obviously is an influence here, also being based on the famous thief, and involves a sort of a team of ne'er-do-wells with Lupin and name told me Fujiko Mine and Jigen and Goemon, running around, getting into all kinds of hijinks, which can vary a lot in tone and style. It can be very serious. It can be very silly. It can be very childish. He's a character that has had many interpretations. And then Patlabor is what we would probably consider one of the most real robot series that there are, involving these police officers in the not so distant future in large labors, which have giant magnums and do police work and things like that, but is sort of like, boy, it's hard to describe Patlabor at times, but is a very different speed. If you're expecting hot-blooded shonen action heroes firing all missiles and pushing their levers forward and screaming at the same time, this is not the show. It's very much, it's probably got more in common with something like, say, Seinfeld. It's a very slow burn. It's as much about sitting in squad cars and talking, or having to deal with paperwork, as it is actually about the robots doing robot stuff. But that would be really interesting just because, first off, obviously, Lupin and his team don't have mechs, but Goemon can cut through anything, and Jigen could just headshot everybody. And so could Fujiko. Honestly, she'd probably just ride a motorcycle over all of them and shoot them. But just the tone would...
She'd ride the motorcycle up the arms of the robot.
Right.
And then,
while robbing them at the same time. But it would just be funny. I think it would be fun to have your sort of screwball, kind of silly, wacky Lupin team versus this very serious, very straight-laced, real robot Patlabor team. It would be quite funny to see that happen, I think. And probably even better when they inevitably would team up at the end to fight. I mean, I don't know. We're just goofing around. So maybe the Osumatsu-san kids. I don't know. Just something crazy. But yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I would watch it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think just for the novelty of it, novelty alone would just what?
Right?
A Lupin the Third property just dealing with giant robot stuff. I don't know that I've seen it. I don't know that they've done it because they...
I mean, we're definitely getting a bit of that now. The Lupin Rangers opening is definitely homaging or paying homage to the Lupin the Third, OP, no doubt. So this one comes from Strange4 on Twitter. This is from last week. How much did the writers, designers love Persona 5, and did you like it? So have you played Persona?
I can take this.
Yes, you go for it. I have no Persona experience.
Very much like that very first opening, 5-6 minutes of them busting in on a casino, kicking butt, catching cheaters and exposing them. Very Persona 5. Like it's so much Persona 5. I think I said it when we were watching it. I was like, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, I seem to recall you saying that.
To be specific, or to be clear, that's actually how Persona 5 opens with like a casino. They're trying to escape a casino after having robbed it. I'm not going to say exactly what was going on there, but basically, yeah, like very much that. And I don't know how familiar you are with the Shin Megami Tensei stuff in general.
0.
Or
0%.
Persona stuff. 0%. Okay. So basically, but you are familiar with JoJo, right?
Correct, yes.
So, so in lieu of stands, they have personas, and that's basically like a spirit thing or some kind of physical manifestation of their psyche that is often represented by some kind of god, demon, or mythical being. But they went fictional with this, or kind of fictional historical, and the main character's persona is Lupin, like Arsène Lupin, like the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yes, the answer is yes. Very, very much Persona 5, and they definitely loved it. There's no way it wasn't an influence on this. Like,
well, even though I didn't get the references, I certainly enjoyed it. I liked it quite a bit. I know Persona enough to know some of the style and some of the memes, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great visual tick.
The red and black helps.
Yeah. Okay, so next question from last week, and then we can get on to this week's questions. This comes to us from good buddy Ian, Sunshine Moon RX on Twitter. How's this for a question? Now you've seen some of its contemporaries. What do you think makes Sentai stand out? What are its strengths compared to them? So I think what she's asking about here is specifically Sentai compared to other forms of tokusatsu. Like what makes it unique and stand out?
It's definitely for me, it's definitely the team play aspect right off the bat. Like they have to work together and it's not a begrudging thing. Like it's mandatory and they are also all into it as far as I've seen. But yeah, like I said, my experience is primarily with Kamen Rider where it's usually a solo thing and then they tack on one or two later that either are in conflict or kind of have to work with them.
Right. Yeah, I think for me it's that definitely. Like you said, Kamen Rider has the conflict element. There's always some, inevitably your second rider is a very rude dude or gets under the hero's skin in some way. The main rider and the secondary rider are not just besties right out the gate. It doesn't make for good television. So Sentai everybody tends to be all in from the beginning, and then in your focus episodes you may have a chance for somebody to break the team's trust or to go off on their own tangent or something. But I think it's, for me, Sentai feels like it operates on 3 tiers or 4 tiers. You have your sort of like unmorphed fights, your morphed fights, you have your vehicle and or your sort of Zord or motorcycle elements, and then you also have the giant combined bot elements. So it feels like it takes place on there's a wider level, a wider variety of different levels of conflict. You can just have the heroes fighting in street clothes. You can have the heroes fighting as superheroes. You can have them in motorcycles or in Zords, or you can have them as a big giant robot. And Sentai tends to try to hit at least 3 of those 4 in most episodes, in my experience. So you get elements that you don't like. I think Ultraman is comparable, but Ultraman tends to operate on the 2-level thing. You tend to have just sort of, at least certainly in the modern incarnations, just kind of, hey, we're doing our stuff as normal people. Now it's time to get big and fight. And at least the Kamen Riders I've seen, the motorcycle elements they don't ever really seem to be a huge focus. They're an element sometimes, but not all the time. But with Sentai, it's that multi-tiered aspect. There's different categories of action. And I like that a lot. That's one of the things that drew me to Power Rangers as a, elementary school kid. It still draws me in now that there's different scales to the conflict, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then I think at that point we have to sort of accept that there's going to be a giant fight somehow. Like either they're gonna just say, you can get back up, here you go, or
especially in at least it feels like in the past maybe 15ish years, and I'd have to go back and watch again, but there's. As a kid, it always felt like if they did a team attack sort of at ground level, that it would just sort of inconvenience the monster and then they would become large. Whereas now, at least I say now, but for quite a few seasons now, they've even gotten to a point where it's like, no, the team attack just pretty much kills them and there's a giant explosion that looks like they die. But then they just, for whatever reason, they just get to be big. Like in today's episode that we just watched, she literally just comes in and goes, I'm just going to bring you back and you're going to fight again. He goes, I don't know why I'm back, but I'm fighting again. Like, they pretty much have lampshaded that trope. They're just like, yeah, he died.
You just said, he just said it.
But he is back again, I guess. Like, it just doesn't even pretend anymore that those explosions don't look like they killed the monster. So,
yeah.
Okay, so we still have some more questions for this week. First one from Behelite Bop, or Masato no Ken on Twitter. What are your top 5 Sentai suits? What are both of your top 5 Sentai suits? So I don't know about. Here's what I'm gonna say. For my purposes, I am going to count main team suits as a group. Like, I'm not gonna be like, okay, this one blue, okay, this one yellow. Like, I'm just gonna be like, okay, this team, I like just their suits. I'll consider 6th Rangers or later Ranger editions as their own thing for purposes of counting. So, do you have a top 5 ready to go?
I'm gonna go for it. I think.
Go for it. Do it. All in.
So I'm gonna say Mega Ranger. No, in no particular order. Although, you know what? I'm gonna say Die Ranger first, just because
Okay.
Duh. So Die Ranger, Mega Ranger. I'm gonna say Cocker Ranger really strikes me. Oh no, I only have 2 more. Go Kaiser, because pirates are dope, and I really like it when they look armory or when there's a lot more plastic on it. So I guess I'm gonna say maybe Go Busters.
Okay, yeah, that's a good call. Mm-hmm. I guess for myself, again, in no particular order, the main Zoo Ranger suits. I love the fact that they have the unique heads, but the unique helmets, but the simple geometric kind of uniformity of the diamonds or the rhombi that they all have, and they all have the white diamonds. I love Keeper Ranger from Die Ranger. I actually don't, as much as I love Die Ranger, I'm kind of mixed on their suits. But I think Keeper Ranger I really, really like, who's the White Ranger in Die Ranger. I love Go Kaiger just because they have those collars, those wide collars. Just, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Huge fan of the Jetman suits. Those things are, they're so sleek.
Yeah.
They're so sleek. They're beautiful. I think they're just like, especially because they're not really unique. They all pretty much look the same, but are in different colors, and yet they're just so striking. Like, I have to look at them when I see them. I can't scroll past. And then, oh god, this is tough. I like the Gal Ranger suits a lot because of the diagonal elements, but I also, it's hard to pick. I like I guess I'm going to go with the Kaku Ranger suits in this one, just because I know they just look like ninjas, but I think that's the kind of fun thing about their suits is that they could fit in as ninjas in any they almost don't have to be Sentai ninjas. They just look like ninjas, but they're also Sentai suits.
I think they have to be because of the colors, though.
Well, I know the colors, but you have different colored ninjas in other media. Like ninjas coming in different colors is in other media, and that's a thing. You could just say, look, that's a blue ninja. It's only together that you can tell they're a Sentai team. And that's what I kind of dig about them. It's just subtle enough, and it's just like, no, that's a ninja. So I'm going to go with those 5. Not even necessarily my top 5. I just really like those 5, and those came to mind.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
because this would be much longer if we did like a full, breakdown on
that
every
could be
suit.
a 3-hour
Maybe we should
pod.
at some point. I think we ought to. I think we ought to at some point.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea to just sit down and talk about every suit, or maybe we need to do like a multi-installment thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so from Colton, good buddy over at Manga Mavericks podcast, your favorite Henshin and why is it Tatuba?
Oh.
Which
did you say number 1 favorite? Because that's so like, come on,
your favorite.
man.
Well, yeah, that's difficult. He not only is he by saying Henshin and also referencing Kamen Rider, he's basically including all changing for heroes ever.
Yeah.
But he's also calling us out and referencing Tatuba being the main Henshin for Kamen Rider O's. I don't know what do
Can
you.
We at least do like a? Can we at least do like a top 3 with this one?
Just tell me one you really really like. How's that sound?
Oh my gosh!
It doesn't have to be favorite.
Okay.
Just tell me one you really like.
Too many, man. I love them all so much. I'm like that lady with the cats. Like, just I love Henshin so much. But okay. On the subject of O's, I guess it's gotta be for me. I'm sorry, Tataba, but I love Birth's Henshin so much. I love Gashapon just in general. I'm nuts. I'm crazy about capsule toys. And so for him to freaking insert a coin, crank it, and then pop one as part of his Henshin, it's too much for me. I can't take it. I have to watch it every time.
It's that satisfying pop noise that it makes.
Too good. Yep. Yeah. So there. I think we need to do one of these two. Like we have to do like a full breakdown on this because I wrote down a list earlier and I just had to pick this one because that's where I am. I have a list. Oh, jeez.
Gosh, for my own, well, that's a really hard call to make. So here's what I will say. It's really hard for me to pick a single Henshin that I love the most, but part of what I love about Tatuba specifically is, first off, I think that the Tatuba is so effective because I literally cannot see a bundle of change now. Like if I pull out change out of my wallet, in my head I go Tatoba, Tatoba, Tatoba. Like I don't voice this to anyone else. Or when I have like in my car, the little cup holders, I have loose change in there. Every time I get in my car, I think of this, like the cells or the Tatoba. So it's in my DNA now. And I think what's so effective about the Tatoba transformation and why it's so satisfying is that it has a sense of weight to it. Like the putting the coins into the slots is visually very simple, but you know that feeling. You know the feeling of putting a coin into a slot. So it's very relatable motion. And then the actual Henshin itself, where he twists the buckle and then he comes down at an angle. Not a lot of choreography there. Not a lot of detailed elements to it. He just clicks and pushes, and that's there's something that's very delightful about that it's so relatable and so simple. It's very effective.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Just the Henshins. I guess the Henshins in that season.
Yeah.
They had it. They the physical. Too good.
Really, really good.
Okay. So we need to do like a full one where we do a breakdown of all the ones that.
I also I have to make honorable mention here because if we're talking about favorites, I got to talk about Kyoryuger too, which we would know as Power Rangers Dino Charge. I love on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I love the dancing. I love the
samba.
Just there's confetti and colors and I love it. That is the other end of the spectrum, and I love that too. So.
Oh no. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Colton. Now we have to do like a full one.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about every single. Okay, great. I love it. Actually, I love it. I'm messing around here.
It's in the tank. We're doing it. Okay, two more, and then we can wrap up. This one comes to us from @Rufus2K2. What's the most satisfying moment from a Toku show that you can remember? The one that you just have to immediately watch again. So that's a big one. Again, I think we're just going to have to go with what's one that jumps to mind. What's one that really jumps out at you is just a super satisfying moment.
I'll need a second, so you can go first.
Okay, in Die Ranger, who was the assassin again? He was like the
the Black Samurai,
the Demon
guy?
Fist, the Demon Fist guy that had the awesome claw arm, and he was like an assassin for a while. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Jin Matoba. Okay, Jin Matoba, and he is he's clearly like a villain, but his final scene when he's fighting against all those other monsters, and there's the setting sun behind him. I wept in that episode. It was so powerful. God, that was just the most amazing scene. It was so dramatic, and because he always had the coins, and the coin falls to the sand, and oh my God, that is just, I don't even remember what episode it is. It's somewhere in the 20s or 30s in Die Ranger, but God, that is just beautiful. I loved that scene.
Well,
I want to go watch
looking
it right
forward
now.
to seeing it. I didn't even know this dude existed, man. That sounds awesome.
I mean, he's in Die Ranger. Oh, that's right. You haven't finished Die Ranger. I keep forgetting you haven't finished it. Yeah, you. Oh my God, it's so.
Don't. I'm excited. I'm gonna get there.
Spoiler alert! It's
I'll
great.
Get there. Yeah. Oh, really? Do tell. Do tell. I'm gonna go with the Kamen Rider thing for now. So the first Kamen Rider series I saw, actually watched all the way through when I had an opportunity to, was Kabuto, and there's a character that just kind of gets pooped on throughout the whole season. They just keep dropping on him. Someday you'll get to be a hero, or the very first episode. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this now, but he reaches out because he's supposed to get the thing that transforms, and then another dude totally grabs it, and he's way cooler, so it's totally fine. He's just nope, this is mine, this belongs to me. And so for 30 plus episodes, this guy is really trying to be a hero, working really, really hard, and he even gets one at some point, but it's the douchebag one.
Oh no.
And so then he loses it almost immediately. You don't want to be this guy because he's a bad guy. I mean, there's a lot of other problems. There are other things going on with that. But at some point, he gets his own, and it is so good. I'm gonna go watch that after we're done here, because when Kamen Rider Gatak shows up, it is fantastic, so satisfying. And he looks fantastic. He looks so good. He looks great. One of my favorite designs, I'd say too.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Okay. Then we have one more from Winston Chan. So from Winston Chan on Twitter, fave comedic moment from either a Sentai, a Kamen Rider series, or both. And he mentions one of his is the O's episode 27 when Date is directing the film. And he himself is doing the Tataba sound effects that we're talking about. And that is a really great, he mentioned it. I was like, oh, that's a really good one. That's a great episode.
He's one of my favorites, just as a dude overall. I like hunky riders. Sorry. Hunky Battle Doctor riders. That's my jam.
Yeah. So what about yourself?
Okay, favorite comedic moment. Just we're going with the first thing that comes to mind. I'm gonna go with I don't know if this is necessarily comedic, but it's just kind of a strange one. So in Kamen Rider Den-O, the main character to fight gets I mentioned that he uses monsters as upgrades, but actually what's happening is they're possessing his body to fight, and at some point he gets possessed by kind of a playful monster, and he dances and stuff. He dances all the time, and I think the actor actually can break dance. So he actually, there's a scene where the sort of like I'm gonna air quotes hip hop version of the theme song comes on, and like his dancing is so infectious that everybody, like, I'm like, we're going like full musical where everybody with it that could hear the song was also dancing and kind of like b-boying. Like, I was like, this is fantastic. I don't know what's going on, but I love this so much because it's like that. You can see that the actor's doing it. It's not a stunt double.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah.
I guess for myself, it's from my favorite show that I still haven't completed. The moment in Topger, the train Sentai series, when the puppet Ticket is fighting General Schwarz's puppet. Basically, the heroic 6th Ranger has a puppet, Ticket, and the villain General Schwarz has a puppet, and the puppets are fighting, and there's explosions in the background. And it's just... it makes me laugh every time, and every time I look at the GIF, I laugh, and it just will never not bring me joy, and it's what I love so much about this wonderful, wonderful franchise.
I can't wait. I just started Tokyo recently, and like, I'm not this. This isn't like a hey, I can't believe you said that, but
yeah,
I can't wait to get to it. Like, I'm really enjoying what I've seen so far.
It's a series. It's my next one to go back and finish once I finish up what I'm currently watching. So that's a great moment. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're in 4s right now, and man, I'm enjoying
you.
Your thread. Like, I'm reliving 4s through this, and it's great. Like, there's stuff I can't wait for you to get to.
What a
like,
pure, beautiful series.
Oh boy.
So I think that is all the questions that we have. Thank you to everybody for sending in questions. It's so much fun to play these little thought exercises and talk about them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, really, I really appreciate like all the positive things you guys are saying so far. Like, I didn't know who was going to listen to this, but yay, there's people there. There's people in, and you guys are really engaging, and that's awesome.
Seriously, a big shout out to all the people that we've gotten feedback from fellow Sentai fans and Toku fans, and we've also gotten feedback from people that have never seen before, and they're just listening just to hear us talk, and that's just so encouraging and wonderful. And thank you guys so much, because I mean, we're having fun, but it's just that much better when you guys are having fun with us. We really appreciate it. And the questions and all that, it's just wonderful. So next week we'll be back, same bat time, same bat channel, but we don't necessarily want to, just in case scheduling comes up and it's an issue, but we have our big push is to from here on out, if we can, try to have a guest on nearly every episode to watch with us. So hopefully, if everything goes according to plan and nobody's schedules change, we should be having guests on with us from here on out, which will be exciting. So yeah,
I'm excited. I'm always excited, but this is like multiplying it by like another like times 10.
It's definitely a Kaioken of excitement, to use a Dragon Ball term.
Yes.
And we're going to be pulling people.
Excellent.
The first few definitely in the lineup are fellow Toku heads that I know, but I'm trying to pull people from a wide range of experience, as long as they're willing to catch up, that they'll watch with us. So I'm very excited about that as well. So, but yeah, so unless you have anything else, Pat?
I don't think so. So this has been the Super Senpai Podcast. I'm Pat.
And I'm Grant.
And we'll be seeing you next week.
Super Senpai Podcast.